Hello, my name is Havla Gianetta, and I'm going to share my reading update for a nonfiction memoir that I'm writing. This memory took place in Australia right after I graduated from college. So I was with a couple of friends from mine who came from Botswana, and this took place in the city of Melbourne in a particularly nice suburb called Carlton. I begin every excerpt with a quote, and this is one by James Baldwin from an interview entitled Take This Hammer, produced for National Educational Television by the KQED Film Unit in San Francisco. Anyone who's ever tried to live knows this, that what you say about somebody else, anybody else, reveals you. What I think of you as being is dictated by my own necessities, my own psychology, my own fears and desires. I'm not describing you when I talk about you, I'm describing me. Now, here in this country, we've got something called a nigger. We have invented the nigger. I didn't invent him. White people invented him. I've always known that what you were describing was not me, and what you were afraid of was not me. It had to be something else. You had invented it. So it had to be something you were afraid of, and you invested me with it. And I've always known that I'm not a nigger. I am not the victim here. Again, that was an abridged quote from James Baldwin from a 1963 interview called Take This Hammer. Yeah, I was sorry to hear about your... I paused, distracted by a particularly daring neon blazer gleaming from a shop window as we walked by. Your washing machine, that sucks. Do you have any idea when they'll be able to fix it? No, Felicity sighed. We've just been doing our laundry in the bath. Have you ever tried hand washing your clothes? It's really not that bad. Just once, I sighed. In Rome, of all places. My grandparents and I were at this fancy hotel called the Il Cavaliere Hilton, and niggers! I started, then turned in the direction of the grating voice, wondering what kind of horrible person would yell racist obscenities in the street, and who the poor pedestrians were that he was attacking. It wasn't until a shiny car filled with preppy-looking white men in collared shirts screeched to a halt at a stoplight nearby that I realized he was looking at us. "Go back where you came from!" the driver shrieked. "Ha ha, yeah! Go back to Africa, you fucking niggers!" The man next to him howled as the rest of the passengers broke into scornful laughter. I braced myself as the man in the passenger seat pushed himself through his window, unsure whether or not he was going to jump out of the car and come toward us. Instead, he slumped over, his torso half hanging out of the car as he slurred, "You better get the fuck out of here!" Wasn't anybody going to do anything? I looked around in a silent appeal to some of the diners sitting outside of their restaurants, but instead of seeing collective outrage on their faces, I noticed that most of them seemed to be averting their eyes. "Fuck you, niggers!" one of the men in the back seat of the car growled. "Yeah, fuck you!" another one chimed. Then the light turned green, and the car full of angry young men careened down the road, leaving a few rude hand gestures in their wake. Kefilwe and Felicity kept walking, leaving me standing on the sidewalk, too shocked to move. What the hell just happened?" I asked loudly. "Don't pay attention to them," Felicity sighed. "That's what they want." "Don't pay attention to the car full of racist assholes shouting insults at us?" I retorted indignantly. "Why are you acting like nothing happened?" "They're gone now," Gefilwe shrugged. "Okay, but it wasn't just them," I snapped. "Why is everyone around us acting like nothing happened?" I motioned to the restaurant patron sitting just a few feet away. I thought I saw one woman's eyes flicker in my direction, but she quickly looked back down at her plate. "You see this? This would never happen in the States," I blurted. Kefilwe rolled her eyes, and I could almost guess what she was thinking, that I was just another loud, self-righteous American getting up on my soapbox to make my voice heard. Well, so what if I was? Kefilwe and Felicity had likely been dealing with this kind of harassment for their entire lives, and they probably thought I'd grown up soft, coddled by a country where everyone was taught to assert their rights since childhood. But if the only other alternative was to keep ignoring this, then how was anything going to change? You have to understand, I sighed. Even if someone did call me the N word in my country, and nobody ever has, people wouldn't just sit around and ignore it. They would react, or at least ask us how we're doing. Do you think this is funny? I interrupted myself as Kafilwe suppressed a smile. Oh, Havala, she chuckled as she began shaking her head. You Kalat people are so angry. Colored! I almost shouted, then stopped myself. That's what they called mixed black and white people in Botswana, so there was no point trying to call her out on it, even though it sounded strange coming from another black person. And maybe Kefilwe understood something that I didn't. That biracial people have to balance a sort of double consciousness in order to stay sane in between moving back and forth between two opposing cultures. Maybe I wasn't just an angry black woman. I was also an angry white woman. Everyone's worst nightmare.